All right, everybody, welcome back. A little bit of a nostalgic episode here today. So, cool part is, tractor here on the right, 1948 or so, the best we know, 8N Ford tractor. To the left, its replica in a 2010 8N called a Boomer Edition. Not a Ford any longer, a New Holland tractor. The similarities, pretty darn cool. So if nothing else, this will show you guys a little bit about technology and a little bit about, well, for me, what real life was for these tractors. So 1947 to 1952, that was not a very long run. The 8N tractor was made. This was my grandfather's tractor, and he's had it for a long time, and this tractor got a lot of use and a lot of abuse. My uncle now has restored it, and with both my uncles actually together, restored it. One painted it, one did the other stuff, and we're able to give it back to him just before he passed away. He didn't get a lot of use out of it, but he would ride this tractor all day long, cutting grass, cutting trails, doing whatever he had to do. Just like it was a brand new tractor, he used it. The only complaint he said, he didn't have a cup holder. So he would have loved the new version because it had a nice cup holder. He didn't need much else. Just needed somewhere to put his beer. But this one, the best we know, is a 1948, and they remade this tractor in what they called a Boomer Edition, baby boomer, as a 60th year anniversary replacement tractor. And a lot changed. So this tractor here, which will be for sale, I wanted to capture content prior to selling it. I would not have let it go before this happened, but I was able to get my uncle to bring this tractor from our family farm and bring it in for us to clean it and take pictures and videos here together. This one here, again, is for sale. This is a diesel. This is four-wheel drive. Of course, they beefed everything up. Take the loader out of the equation. I almost took that off to do this video because without that, they really look very similar. You can get a canopy top for there, just like that homemade one that this one has. I'm sure they had some type of bolt-on stuff you could buy, but that one is completely homemade and served its purpose. It kept many a tree limb and branch out of his face and kept some of the sun off his head. But the loader was something that some people added to even these tractors. You don't see it very often because it didn't have a whole lot of mechanicals to run the pumps and things. Obviously, the PTO system changed over the years, and I always thought, when I was a kid when these tractors were around, I always thought they were saying 8N, but it's 8 with the letter N. They had a 9N and they had a 2N. So there's lots of variations of this tractor that ran for different years. But so let's take 1947 to 1952. That's 5 years. This tractor here was the most popular and most sold tractor of a single production ever. And you can Google that and check that out. It's pretty interesting. And I thought to myself, prior to even knowing that fact, that it had to be true, because I cannot tell you how many of these tractors I have seen. My grandfather on my mom's side of the family also had this exact same tractor. Not this very one, but he bought one. He was a little tight with his money, so when one of our farmer relatives upgraded, because, big time farmers, they got to have the biggest, baddest, coolest tractor ever, so they would upgrade. He took the hand-me-down, and he kept it in his barn, and I rode on that as a kid. I rode on this one as a kid, so I rode on both of my grandparents' tractors that were the exact same model, exact same style, exact same color, and that's pretty cool. And they used them. That grandfather of mine, he actually did a big garden, and he used it for plowing the fields and also used it for bush hogging, and they were good for that. This one got new tires, so this one's sitting just, for those out there that aren't tractor people, you got agricultural tires, you've got industrial tires, and then you've got turf tires. So this would be for the mud and the farming and all that. The industrial tire would be more like this right here, which is a little bit thicker. Not really as much for the mud, but more for hard surfaces and also puncture proof, but still good grip. And then you've got turf tires, which are much easier on the ground. They're much easier on the road, and they don't, obviously that tire right there is going to chunk a yard up if you're trying to cut your grass. This tire right here will just go nice and smooth to cut your grass. I do have a set of ag tires. I have a set of industrial tires that can go with this tractor if somebody wants. Similar size in stock. So again, this one can be changed up a little bit. But they kept the gauges pretty cool and classic looking. This tractor's got 150 hours on it. It is diesel. It does have a very comfort ride seat. Much different than the old hard metal seat. It's on suspension. It's got a very nice cushion material. Easy on the buttocks. And even a very similar, I don't think this right here was the proper front grille guard for this tractor. It might be, correct me in the comments, I'm sure you will. But they tried to keep that very similar. This tractor got the full stainless package, which was an upgrade, which was the roll bar and this and the gauges and a few other things. But even down to the color on the wheels, the background of the hubs, very well thought out replacement. Most of these things, they remade the Thunderbird, they remade the Challenger and the Charger, they remade the Camaro, and some of them look pretty cool and spot on. But I gotta tell, this one's pretty cool. They rounded it out a little bit. Of course, New Holland, I guess, bought out Ford. Ford is who made it originally. New Holland's who made that. But these tractors were very primitive. There's your carburetor system, fuel filter, manifold, 4-cylinder motor, very simple. They were 6 volt. Most everybody converted them to 12 volt. This one has been converted to 12 volt. And actually one of the headlights was missing on this. My uncle went to the effort of, knowing I was going to do some videos, putting another headlight on there. And he even found some very similar color paint, which was more of a cream color, such as you see right here, than the bright white. He's got a little jumper lead right there because the 12 volt system, which there's the coil, goes over to the battery and it's losing voltage somehow. Don't know exactly how, but you got to hook that up to get good juice when you're starting it cold. Once it starts, it doesn't do bad. There's your fuel bowl feeding from the tank, made straight into the tank. You can clean that out also. That's where a lot of sediment goes, and then the fuel line runs right over to the carburetor. There's a block drain for the winter time to drain the water. There's your oil dipstick, 12 volt battery, starter relay, starter. Steering goes straight from the steering gear through a worm gear, straight down to the tie rod to the steering. Very, very, very primitive. 4-speed transmissions, if I'm not mistaken. 3-speed automatic transmission, basically with a glide shift. You just put it in and go. It actually slows down for you and everything. And he did replace the old metal seat with a cushion on here, but I remember this one being nothing but metal, and that was definitely not real friendly on your backside. The little crank to adjust when you hook up your implement. But there she is, guys. Little walk back in history. 8N Ford tractor, 8N Boomer New Holland tractor. And again, that right there, that tractor will never leave this family. No matter where it goes and how much it gets used, and my uncle still will use it down at the farm, crazily enough. And it's not much you can't do to make it run. As long as you got a little spark and a little fuel, it's going to go. This is actually an oil bath air filter. Pretty cool. If you don't know what that is, that was their way of filtration for the air. I guess the oil would trap things, and that's where the air intake would be. And you get your little cap up here, and there's your fuel tank. You can work on this one, you can't work on that one. If that one breaks down in the field, you're screwed. That one right there, if it breaks down in the field, You can get it going again. There's your starter right there. And if your grandparents, your dad, granddad, family member, uncle, anybody had one of these tractors, you definitely remember that sound. That right there is a classic sound of these motors. They just had a very unique starter clashing the motor and flywheel sound, to me anyway. And it might not be for everybody, but I can start up anything else in here and it does not sound like that. Very low compression engine, I would have to assume, and spins over pretty easy because 6 volts, that's half the power of 12, and 6 volts made it happen. And I remember my grandfather's tractor, he would have to jump start it a lot, not this one, but the other one, and it wouldn't take much. He'd hook the car to it for just a split second because obviously 12 volts versus 6 volts, you don't want to leave it on there too long and it would fire right up. He'd pull the big burlap he had covering it off and pull it out in the field and work with it. Put it back away. It might sit for months, might even sit for another year till it was crop season, but very dependable tractors, and for being only made 5 years to be the most selling model of a tractor ever, that's pretty impressive. Ford must have crushed it way before my time, but my grandfather, dad, uncles, and many, many others in this world obviously have one of these tractors. You can go on Craigslist or Facebook anytime and find plenty of them for sale. And they don't bring a whole lot of money, but they are impressive tractors, and they must have impressed a lot of people to sell as many as they did over all these years. So there's your Davis Drives episode today, taking you back in time. Old versus new. I think a lot of people would still choose the old every day. And I know in this case, I'd ride that one in a heartbeat just to bring back some memories. So cool stuff. More to come. Davis Drives. If you want to buy a tractor, I'll let this one go now. I wasn't going to do it before I got this video though. So very, very, very nice boomer tractor. Don't ask about that one because it's not for sale. Thanks for watching Davis Drives. Davis Auto Sales, Richmond, Virginia. Check out all our inventory on the website anytime.